Today's episode is brought to you by Second Home Hollywood, a creative workspace and cultural venue committed to supporting entrepreneurship, innovation, and community. Whether you're looking for a place to write, meet, or work, Second Home is the place for you. Visit secondhome.io/Hollywood and enter code BACKSTAGE at checkout for a complimentary day pass. Welcome to In the Envelope, a podcast from Backstage, the one-stop shop for actors and creators both above and below the line. I am your host, Vinny Mancuso, Backstage Senior Editor and Professional Entertainment Obsessive. I'll be your guide through every corner of the creative industry with the help of some of your favorite stars. Here you'll find intimate, in-depth talks with today's most award-worthy names in film, television, and theater. Along the way, we'll get advice on living your best creative life, relatable stories of the highest highs and lowest lows, and maybe, just maybe, a rare peek in the envelope.
I've waited more than 30 years for this, so you have to persevere, don't give up. One day that opportunity will come knocking. You just have to be ready. And when it does, you have to pour your entire heart and soul into it and be brave. I hope people can hear my story, and if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. You just have to be patient.
Welcome to In the Envelope, the Actors Podcast. I am your host, Backstage Senior Editor Vinny Mancuso. And my advice to you, my friends, today is to reach out and grab the nearest box of tissues, because joining us today is the wonderful, the inspiring Huy Quan. Now, for anyone unfamiliar with Key's story, he got his start at just 12 years old, playing Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He followed that up almost immediately with The Goonies, and seemed pretty poised to become a Hollywood staple in the 80s and beyond that. Then the roles just stopped coming, for many reasons, some normal, some not, but either way, Key stepped away. He worked behind the camera, he became an assistant director, a stunt coordinator, but for decades he did not act. He stayed behind the camera and he just kind of put that part of himself on permanent hold. But as I'm sure you know by now, Key not only returned to acting with the role of Waymond in Everything Everywhere All at Once, he's not only garnering some awards buzz, he is an improbable frontrunner heading into the 95th Academy Awards. The whole movie is Everything Everywhere All at Once, one of the least likely Oscars plays ever, definitely featuring more butt plugs than your average Oscars play. It's leading the pack with 11 nominations. That includes 4 individual acting nods. Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Lee Curtis, Stephanie Hsu, and yes, Huy Quan. It's an emotional journey, and this is an emotional chat with a truly, truly delightful person. Let's get right into it. Here is Huy Quan. Key, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Well, thank you for having me, Vinny. And I'm so excited. This is my first cover.
Oh my God! Yeah, how did the shoot go? Was everything good? Everything's good?
Yeah, well, it went really well. I had a great time. Awesome. But I was just so excited the entire shoot because, this is my first solo cover. I've been on covers before, but it was with Harrison Ford or the poster of our movie, back in the days in Indiana Jones and Goonies. So I was really excited. So thank you, Vinny.
Wow,
for
I
this
didn't know
wonderful.
that. That's an honor. I honestly did not know that. That's incredible. And yeah, when we booked this cover, it was a few weeks ago, and as of 24 hours ago, I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to Oscar nominee Key. It's 24 hours ago. How has your 24 hours been?
Oh my gosh, it's been. You know what? It's been crazy. It's been wild. I am so happy. I could not believe this is happening. Seriously, I ever since our movie came out, I go to sleep every night, feeling very blessed and very grateful. And I wake up every morning wondering, if everything that has happened since is a dream. And it's always, it always takes me a minute or two to convince myself that this is real.
Yeah.
And it's just unbelievable. I remember not that long ago, a little more than a year ago during the pandemic, when we finished shooting the movie. It was done. The Daniels were editing it, getting ready. We were in post-production, and I was just staying at home, trying to keep safe, and I was auditioning left and right. And I could not land one single job.
Wow.
Not even one callback. And I was so sad and nervous because I thought, once again, was this just a one-time thing? And I even called our producer, Jonathan Wong, and I said, you've seen the movie many times. Can I ask you if I'm any good in it? And he says, Key, why are you asking this stupid question? And I said, Jonathan, I kid you not, I could not land a job. And he says, you just wait. And I was so afraid that I was going to lose my health insurance in 2021 because I couldn't get anything. And sure enough, come 2022, I lost my health insurance.
Wow. And this was probably right before the movie came out, or this was
right before the movie came out. So the entire 2021 came and went without one single job because nobody wanted to hire me.
I can't imagine that position, knowing that you have this performance coming. You just want to tell people, just wait till you see this performance. And it's like, I can imagine you're almost thinking, it's going to happen again. This thing that happened, it's going to happen again, where you're going to have to sort of step away. And I can't imagine what that was like, being on that precipice of knowing that this role could lead to other things, but it hasn't yet.
But the thing was, the Daniels offered to show me the movie before it came out, and I said no, I don't want to see it.
Oh, interesting.
I want to see it when it comes out. So I don't, I haven't seen a single scene of the movie. And again, it was that same fear again that I had when I was a kid, right after Indiana Jones and the Goonies, and it was a gradual decline from that point on, and I was experiencing all of that again. But this time, not in my early teens or late 20s, but when I was a middle-aged man. So I was really nervous. And of course, thank God, when the movie came out, everything changed.
Turned out pretty well.
Yeah. It's that's why I am so thankful, so grateful to the Daniels for trusting me with this wonderful character, Waymond. It's just been unbelievable since.
I was actually just having this conversation about how, I remember seeing this movie, I think it was almost a year ago, like almost exactly a year ago, seeing this movie. And the first conversation I had is like, there's always these movies every year where you're like, wow, I saw that and I'm already mad because I don't think it's going to be recognized by the Oscars. It's like you have these movies where you're like, man, that's so good and so weird. I'm just already mad on behalf of that movie because I don't think it's going to get nominated for anything. And then you flash forward and the movie is leading the Oscars. The movie has more nominations than any other movie. It's just the way this movie has captured people is unlike anything I've seen in a long time. And I can't imagine what that's been like, because unlike a lot of Oscars movies, this movie came out a while ago. You've all been riding the wave of this movie for so long. And I just can't imagine what the ups and downs with that have been on your end.
Well, Vinny, the truth is none of us predicted any of this would have happened. We all got together because we all believe in the script and we believed in the Daniels. They wanted to do something different, and they had this wild and crazy idea that they wanted to share with the world, and we were all along for the ride. And we worked really hard. We poured our heart and soul into this movie for 38 days in Simi Valley. And all we were hoping for is that, one, the movie will make its money back so that we get to do this again. And second, that, somehow it would find, whoever wanted to watch something that is, crazy and wild and out of this world, find that audience. And we didn't expect that the audience would embrace our movie as much as they did. And also at the same time, for me personally, I haven't been doing this for more than 20 years. So I had another layer of fear in me because one, I don't know if the audience will remember me, and second, whether they would embrace my return back on the screen. The last time they saw me, I was a little kid. And, and I look much older now. And since then, it has been, it's amazing. It really is. And, of course, we thought this, like you said, it came out, last March. It did really well. And we thought, the whole conversation would just die down and that would be the end of it. A little do we know that,
here we are.
Came the award season, the buzz got bigger and bigger, the noise got bigger and bigger. And here we are with 11 nominations, and none of us predicted this. So I'm so grateful to the Academy for giving us this. Yeah.
You mentioned, you reached out to your producer and you just want to know, like, am I good in this? And he assured you, of course you're good in this. And, there's that, because of the time you took away, because of that long hiatus, did a part of you sort of like become a bit, you mentioned it's hard to believe, but when people are constantly telling you, look, you're great in this movie, look, like, is there just a part of you that sort of became used to not believing to not believing that it's actually going to be as good as you were hoping it would be?
I didn't think much, honestly, when I did this movie. I was just so hungry for a role like this. I was just so hungry for a job, to be able to step in front of the camera again, to do something that I truly love for a long, long time. One of the greatest things that has happened since this movie came out is a lot of people that I got to meet in person came up to me and tell me that, one, they love our movie. It changed their lives. Second, they love my performance, which, gave me the greatest encouragement, the validation. And third is, and this was really unexpected, like my story has inspired them, has encouraged them to continue to keep on dreaming. It's the greatest thing. It is so heartwarming that I'm able to do this. And honestly, I grew up in a very traditional Chinese value family. And I was taught from a very young age to internalize all my feelings, all my emotions. For sure, I would not have the courage when I was much younger to tell my story. And I've opened, since our movie came out, I really opened myself up because I wanted people, for a long time they said, where did you go, Key? What happened to you? Where were you? For the longest time, I would get interview requests from a lot of journalists wanting to do a piece where are they now? And the truth is, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
So never did I think about opening up my sharing my story would inspire people. That was, that's the greatest joy out of all of this.
Is it a similar kind of, because there's vulnerability to acting, you're opening yourself up, you're sort of digging in to create a character. Is it a different kind of vulnerability to where now you're even this deep into your career, you feel like you're sharing parts of yourself with people that you haven't before? Is it all sort of swirling in this very vulnerable place for you, where you feel as if it's a different thing from acting, where you're really showing people parts of yourself that they haven't seen before?
Well, when I got this role, it's so complex and so nuanced, and I'm not just playing one version; I'm playing 3 versions of the same character, and I knew immediately that I would have to open up in order for me to play the 3 versions and to give it justice. So I spent a lot of time with myself, just convince myself to let that door open and to be vulnerable, because that's what Tax Waymond is, and the different versions of it, and I felt that I've had enough life experience now where I can pull from my younger self, those feelings that I had, those life experiences that I had in my when I was a child, in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s, and I wanted to pour all of that into these characters. So yeah, I wanted to go there for this. I didn't expect to swing that door so wide open that I can't stop getting emotional when I'm doing interviews or meeting people in person and them sharing their stories with me. I so often people come up to me and they would immediately start crying when they tell me how much this movie means to them, and I would cry with them. And I think there is it's a nice thing to be vulnerable. In our society, we are so afraid to share our feelings, and I think once when you do, you realize how much we're all alike, even though we look very different on the outside.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the emotion of just talking about the role. I think that's I actually just rewatched this movie very recently. I saw it when it came out and I rewatched it before this. And the thing that struck me is how much the key to your performance is that sort of like just sheer openness, and it's sort of it's the through line through all of these different characters from these different universes. You clearly created a different character for each universe, but that through line is just how open you are. And I think that's that big pivotal moment where, Michelle Yeoh is looking at your character and just realizing what it is to really be, to, like you say, be kind. And it's just, there's something about casting you in this role that makes the role work. And I'm sure that's what the Daniels were looking for. So I am curious, when you heard from them and you talked to them about this character, what was it about you specifically that they were hoping would be sort of melded into this role and vice versa?
Well, that would be a great question for you to ask them. My wife often asks them, how come they're so courageous to hire someone who hasn't acted in 20 years and to give them and to place their trust in this person with such a big, important role. But for me personally, when I got that phone call and when we sat down for the very first time, when we discussed the different versions of Waymond, we agree immediately, creatively, on what these three versions are like, what it means to them, what the contributions is to the story, and then after that, it was just me reaching deep within myself to share my life basically with these characters. Honestly, I don't think I could have played Waymond had it been offered me 10, 15 years ago. I don't think I was ready. But it was at a time where I've reached a certain, I've reached a certain point in my life where I felt that I was comfortable to do this. And honestly, it's driven out of fear that I had. That I was so afraid that I would reach 60 years old and have a lot of regrets. Again, that is, you can find that regret in CEO Waymond. And that regret comes from, had I not given courage to the stream that I had, or given voice to the stream that I had. And I'm just so glad that I'm able to do this, really. And what an incredible gift it has been since.
Absolutely. I mean, I tell this to a lot of our guests. This is, of course, Backstage, the Actors Podcast. A lot of people that listen to this podcast, there are people who are actors and maybe people who are in a position where they are setting those deadlines for themselves. If I don't hit this by this age, or if I don't chase this thing by. So I think that's what a lot of people are really latching onto, both your character in the movie and your story outside of it, is that idea that it's never too late. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to have a realization about yourself. And I think that, it's just one of the things that people are, and I think that's especially for people that listen to this podcast who are thinking, oh, is it too late for me? Have I gone past my point where it would have happened for me?
Oh, Vinny, I had that thought for the longest time. Even when I was in my 30s, working behind the camera, even though I was content, but, I was like, I wasn't achieving what I wanted to achieve. So I had that, I had those fears in my 40s, especially in my 40s. And a lot of times, in our society, We often think that once when you hit your 50s, it's all downhill from there. I was confronted with that fear. And that's why I said, I have to do this. Little did I know what was waiting around the corner for me. And so to all those people out there who are doubting themselves, who are wondering if it is too late, if my story proves anything, it is that it's never too late. As long as you persevere, as long as you continue to dream that dream, and one day it will happen. Even if it takes a long time, it will happen for you. Yeah.
You have all these hopes and fears and dreams when you return to acting, and this is all inside of you. And I think I've heard that you do the audition, you do the audition, your first audition for this movie, and then you don't hear back for 2 months or something like that.
Yes.
Tell me about those 2 months. You're finally jumping back in this role of a lifetime, and from what I can tell, you really gave it your all, and then you don't hear back. So what was the other side of that audition like, where you were like, oh, well, that was it? Yeah,
well, first of all, those 2 months was horrible. I was miserable.
Yeah, I can imagine.
As each day passes, again, I was doing exactly what I was doing when I was much younger, waiting for that phone to ring, and it didn't ring. 8 weeks went by, and I thought, oh man, I wanted this role so bad, but my experience tells me that 2 months is a long time. They probably moved on. The one person that still believed that I can land this role was my wife. She told me every single day, just wait, they will call you. They will call you. And I go, you're crazy. You don't understand. 2 months is a long time. They probably, they're probably negotiating with another actor right now. But she never gave up. She always thought that I was perfect for that role, just because of how much I wanted it, and just how much like watching my reaction from reading the script and how emotional I got. She said, "You're perfect for this." And sure enough, when that phone call came, I was jumping up and down with joy. I jumped so high and I screamed so loud. It was one of the happiest days of my life, and it's the same feeling that I had 2 days ago when I heard my name being announced as one of the 5 actors being nominated for an Oscar.
I was gonna ask, because there's 5 people in your category. Your name was announced 5th, so I'm curious what it felt like. You're sitting there, your category's announced, and then there's a name. How long did that time feel to you before they finally said your name?
It felt like a long time. It felt like but the thing is, my feelings were so. It was a mix of emotions, because as they were announcing the names, and Brendan Gleeson, and I go, wow, I was clapping. I said, yes, much deserved, And as each names were announced, I go, yeah, oh wow, that's great, And then as I was looking at the screen, it was the 3rd and the 4th, and there was only one spot left, and I go, oh no, like, wow, I might not get it. I was nervous. And then, when I saw my name up on the 5th spot, it was just pure joy.
Yeah, I can imagine it felt like that last spot was empty for a very long time.
It felt like a long time. In fact, my family called me right after, and they were watching at the same time in Houston, Texas. My younger brother, David, his wife, Kendall, they were watching it too, and they were so nervous for me. Oscar means so much to me, because, I every single year I would always love to watch the Oscars, watching all the celebrities walk down the red carpet, all those people in the room dressed so nice in the tuxes and beautiful gowns. And as each winner is announced, and they go up there and give a speech, and I would always imagine, I was always fantasize about being in that room. And this is for more than 30 years. And when I stepped away from acting, I thought that dream was gone. It was so far away that I really didn't think that it would come back. Mm-hmm. And for this to happen when I'm 52 years old, what? Isn't this incredible? What a story, right?
I think the people that pay attention to the awards and we love a good story. We love a great story, and you just have a great story. There's no denying that. No matter what happens from this point on, I think that up to this point, it has really just been a true pleasure to see you, appear in this role and for the movie to catch on. The way it connected, shockingly. I think anyone who's seen the movie knows that it's surprising how wide it's gone, and how many people connect with it. But it's also not surprising once you've seen it enough times and you're like, wow, it really is just an incredibly human story, and there's so much to latch on to. So yeah, it's been a true pleasure to watch. And I do want to ask about, some of the specifics that went into this role, so you get the role, and you kind of dive into it. I've seen you say that you've hired an acting coach, a dialogue coach, voice coach, body movement coach. And I also think I saw you say that you were doing a lot of the Alexander technique. Yeah, I'd love to learn some more about that, a little bit more about what that.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Jean-Louis Rodriguez, who is one of the best body movement coaches out there. He coaches like DiCaprio and Margot Robbie. Mm-hmm. So when I got this role, I called my agent immediately and I said, I need help. I need a lot of help. I love this role so much, but I don't think I can do it alone. Just because of how much, how much time have passed since I stepped in front of the camera. And one of the first, I remember reading an interview that Margot Robbie did. And she mentioned about how she always rehearses and finds her character with a body movement coach. And I go, wow, that's really interesting, because that's what I wanted for the different versions of Waymond. Mm-hmm. I wanted the audience to be able to watch the movie and to very clearly, distinguish between which version of Waymond is up on the screen. And the first thing I did was I called Jean-Louis, and I said I need help. Show him the script, and his technique is it's called the Alexander technique, and he would read the script and he would find the different animals that he thinks is perfect for that particular character, and for my character Waymond specifically, he picked the squirrel for the tax Waymond, perfect, a fox for the CEO Waymond, and an eagle for the alpha Waymond.
That's so interesting.
And my homework before we even start our first session was, he wanted me to go on YouTube and just watch countless hours of these different animals. Mm-hmm. And not only that, he wanted me to print out pictures of different looking squirrels, different looking foxes, different looking eagles. Yeah. And I went to a printing shop and I print out like 50, 60 photos of just these three animals. And I would just tape them all over my wall as I'm watching these videos on YouTube. And the first session starts with me on the ground as a squirrel with the music playing that I would pick. I would choose a particular music that I think it's perfect for that. Mm-hmm. And I would be on the ground imitating how a squirrel moves, eats, and I would do that over and over again, and then slowly transform into my character. And it's a fascinating technique. I Absolutely. Loved it, and Jean-Louis was instrumental in helping me create these characters. And we did it enough where, because it's only 38 shooting days. Mm-hmm. So every time I'm on set, in one scene I would be doing Tax Waymond. The next scene right away I would be doing Alpha Waymond. Mm-hmm. So it's all that preparation that allowed me to switch from one character to the other very quickly. And then so that I did that with Jean-Louis, the body movement coach, and then I also hired myself an acting coach, a dialogue coach, because I haven't spoken a written dialogue, for so long, mm-hmm. And then a voice coach, because I wanted, Alpha Waymond and Tax Waymond to sound a little bit different.
I'm curious, because you mentioned you're going from scene to scene and changing character, but there are moments and in the movie that ask you to sort of immediately become the character. So I want to ask about those moments where it was that instantaneous change where you have to kind of, and it's very effective. It's your posture changes. I think even the way you talk changes. I'm curious about how you handled those moments.
It was tough, but I think I credit it to the preparation that I did. The 3 months prior to principal photography, and also to the beautiful directions of the Daniels, and then it's just really being really well prepared, knowing my lines and being in the moment and knowing the characters really well. I didn't think I was able to do it until the end of the first week of shooting. And I remember the very specific shot where we are at the IRS building, and Michelle Yeoh's character Evelyn just punched Deirdre Bobierdra. And she says, "You asked me to do this," and I switched from Tax Waymond to Alpha Waymond.
Yep.
And it was that shot that Jamie Lee Curtis saw on the monitor, and she ran up to me, gave me a big hug, and says, "Key, that was freaking incredible." And whatever doubts that I had before that was completely gone. And so yeah, she gave me a lot of confidence, a lot of courage to really give it, to dive in. And of course, when you're working, playing off of the Michelle Yeoh,
I can't. She's a legend. She's a legend.
Yeah.
It
It helps a lot. Yes.
Incredible. I do want to ask about one very specific moment, because I think even long before awards season began, I think the first sense of the idea of how much this movie was connecting is how much I kept seeing people post the line, "In another life, I would have really liked just doing laundry and taxes with you." That, I think, even like days after the movie premiere, people were like, "Wow, that's line of the year. That's moment of the year. I couldn't handle that." So I do want to talk about filming that scene specifically, especially because you have experience working with Wong Kar-wai, which that scene is very inspired by. You've talked about how you used to watch Tony Leung from behind the camera. So how much of that was swirling around your head as you filmed that, and how much of it was you sort of also trying to put your own spin on that homage as well?
I think it stemmed from the fact that all those times that I was working for Wong Kar-wai and just having this really weird feeling watching Tony Leung in front of the camera, and I was behind the camera. I was the AD on a movie called 2046. We shot that movie in Macau for a long time, and it was just I'm a big fan of Tony Leung. But it was just also standing behind the camera watching him, and then just like I remember there were a lot of moments where I remember back when I was in front of the camera and all those wonderful memories that I had, and just kind of missing it, really missing that part of my life. And he's just feeling this, like, the feeling that I had when I had to step away, the feelings of confusion, completely lost because I didn't know what I was doing. All of that just came. I think it was just like a couple of nights that I did just came flooding back in, and wonder, what would my life be like had I had things to work out much better for me. So when we did that scene, it was the last day of shooting, actually.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
It wasn't. It was a second to the last.
But right towards the end.
But it was the day right after that we got shut down because of the pandemic.
Right.
So it was very rushed to get all the the entire shot list done, but just being in that alley, just looking into Michelle Yeoh's eyes, I don't know what happened. And again, this is to the credit of those beautiful words that the Daniels wrote. It just took over me. I love that line, but I didn't think that line would resonate with with audiences the way it did. But yeah, it was just. I think it was just me having serious FOMO all these years, and feeling lonely, because that's what CEO Waymond is. He's very lonely, even though he's very successful. He has all the money in the world, but he doesn't have the love of his life. So it was a combination of a bunch of different emotions that was going through me at that time. Yeah, and even when I watch it today, I can see what I was feeling at that time. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it, but I still remember what was going through my mind. Yeah.
You mentioned that was towards the end of filming, but it wasn't the last. Do you remember sort of what the last day of filming was, and then what that experience was for you? What sounds like comeback of a lifetime, character of a lifetime. You've sat with it, you've done all of this preparation, all this process. Can you remember what it was like to then sort of hear that's a wrap, and then the performance is over?
Well, that was the last day without knowing it was the last day, and then we got shut down for 8 months, and then we came back. And added another day, so it was like 2 days of pickups, and I remember feeling overjoyed that I got to do this, but then also when the last shot that they did and said, "Kid, that's a wrap for you," I was so happy. And so grateful. I remember giving the Daniels a big, big hug and thanking them over and over again for this amazing opportunity. But then when I left that set, I wonder if I will get to do this again. If that was it, or am I going to get another job? And sure enough, for a year and a half, I could not get a job.
Yeah, that's I can't believe that, and I'm wondering, and correct me if this is too intense of a question, but I'm curious. After all of the recognition for this film, and you have jobs lined up, you have the Disney Plus show, you have Loki, and all that. Do you feel secure? Do you feel like that you are back, or do you still have that kind of feeling where it's like, wow, I do know that this does and can end any more? Or do you feel like you are secure where you are right now?
I like the feeling of not knowing, because it keeps me grounded. It keeps me feeling grateful. That's why every time when I walk on a set, I feel so grateful, just knowing how difficult for me to be here. Yeah, sure, there's a lot more opportunities now, not just for me, but for the entire AAPI community, which I'm so grateful to Hollywood for. A lot of progress has been made, but I think there's some good in thinking and not forgetting where you came from, because it you don't take things for granted, and that's how I was raised by my parents. To be thankful and to remember where we came from. So I don't want to think too much what tomorrow is going to be like, because I want to be in the moment. I'm not, all I can say is that I'm really, really happy right now. I didn't think I would be here. Yeah. I didn't think I would be an Oscar-nominated actor. Oh my gosh! It's incredible.
It's gonna be there's gonna be very rare situations where somebody puts your name down in writing without it first saying Oscar nominee.
I know. It just dawned on me after I was nominated. I sat there and I go, "What the hell just happened?" And then it's like, oh my gosh, from this day forward, I will be an Oscar-nominated actor. How incredible is that? Yeah, I can't tell you how happy I am. And I love repeating myself how grateful I am.
That's incredible.
Because that's how I feel. Yeah.
What's the most, sort of, I don't know, mundane, everyday life thing you've done since becoming an Oscar nominee? What is
so many people have reached out. And reading those messages, reading those emails, reading those comments online has been so heartwarming. I'm overwhelmed with emotions, as you can see, even me talking to you about this interview. I mean, I feel I try not to think too much of it, but I do really appreciate all those wonderful people that reached out, all the fans of our movie, all the support that we have gotten so far, their warm embrace of my return. I will always, those are the things that are always on my mind.
And and again, it's something that I don't know if you've thought, but this is a movie about alternate paths, and it's a movie about making one decision. And I'm curious, do you ever take a second to think about alternate version of Key who kept working, who kept in front of the camera, and like how you maybe would have been different if things had gone to an, or is that something that you don't? It's hard to even process because that's not how it happened.
No, it's I do think about it. How can you not? This is what our movie is about. I do think about it more before when we were making the movie, when the movie just came out. Less so now because I realize that I don't want to change a thing. Yes, of course, during those, when I was much younger, when I was in my 20s and my 30s, I always wondered, did I make, could my life have been different had I, chose a different path? All of those thoughts was on my mind all the time. Did I miss an opportunity that, and then, when I was much younger, people say, you should go and network more. You should go out more. I'm a very private person. So, those were the thoughts that I was thinking before. But now I wouldn't change a thing because I think it's so much better this way. I've said this before, life is supposed to be full of ups and downs. And it is because of the peaks and the valley that makes a beautiful landscape. And it makes this time around so much sweeter. So I wouldn't change a thing. Yeah.
I love that. So as we sort of, we're coming to the end of our time, I do want to ask about, what's in the immediate future. You have these huge projects on the horizon. You have Loki season 2, things like that. So I'm curious, obviously not much you can say, but I'm curious what it's like to be thinking about these next projects as you are in Oscars time, are in talking about everything everywhere all at once. What's it like to have these characters on the horizon that you're going to be playing? Are you doing that same level of prep? Are you thinking about this, or is that something you cannot even think about before this? Well,
first of all, I'm so happy American Born Chinese is about to come out very soon. It's wonderful. It's a great show. It's another giant step forward for Asian representation. It's a great story. I can't wait for the audience to see it. Loki season 2 is, oh my gosh, it's really, really good. I had the best of time shooting the series with Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson and our entire cast and crew in London. We were there for 4 months. I can't wait for the world to see that. It comes out in the summer. Right now, I don't have anything planned. I've attended a lot of these events, in the past, especially in the past couple of months, where I'm meeting all these famous people and all these wonderful filmmakers that I have admired for so many years. And honestly, every time I go to these, I'm like a kid at a candy store. I run up to them, I tell them how much I love them, I ask for a selfie, and I shamelessly say, "Can you please put me in your movie? Can you please hire me?"
I'm a little. I got a free schedule coming up, just so you know.
Yeah. So it's just the. I don't know what my next project is, and that's the truth. I don't have anything planned, but it's just the idea of possibly, working with somebody that I admire, that I love, for so many years. It's really, it feels great. And it feels, I mean, honestly, Vinny, it feels, optimism is a great feeling. And that's what I have right now. I didn't have it in my younger days, but I have it now. And things are, things are good. So,
I love that. So before I let you go, you touched on this a little bit before, but, as I mentioned, a lot of people listening to this podcast are in that place where they don't know whether it's going to happen for them. They don't know how to get themselves back to that place. So I'm curious, you touched on it before, but if you did have to talk to those people, no matter where they are in their career, what gave you that push to sort of get back into it and to try again and to put yourself back out there? What is that? What gave you that push, and what do you think could give people out there that same kind of push?
Well, first of all, I would say don't give up. What drove me, like I said earlier, to give voice to this dream I had, to come back, to step in front of the camera again, not knowing, what the outcome is going to be, is the fear of regret. I don't want to live my life with regrets. And also, to all the actors out there listening, all you need is just that one opportunity, that one job that's going to change your life. Of course, I've been very lucky. I had that job when I was 12 years old with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And I have everything everywhere again. But then, of course, I've waited more than 30 years for this. So one is, you have to persevere. Don't give up. One day it will come for you. That opportunity will come knocking. You just have to be ready. And when it does, you have to pour your entire heart and soul into it. You have to work really hard and be brave. Like I said, it's like I hope people can hear my story. And if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. You just have to be patient.
Keith, this was an absolute pleasure. I cannot tell you how happy I am for you. How happy I am that I don't want to say that you're back, but for all of your success, it's so wonderful to see. The movie is incredible. It is really just a miracle. It feels like a miracle of a movie. It feels like a miracle of a performance. And yeah, this was so pleasant. This was so wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, Vinny, thank you for the interview. Thank you for talking to me. I had a great time. Of course. Yeah, this is a lot of fun for me.
And you're an Oscar nominee. That's pretty cool.
Yes, yeah! I'm an Oscar nominated actor. Wow, how incredible is that?
Love it.
It's really cool. So
amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, as always, to our brilliant producer, Jamie Muffett, and to the whole team at Backstage. Samantha Sherlock, Mark Stinson, Caitlin Watkins, and of course, Casey Howe. Visit Backstage.com, and don't forget, you can subscribe to Backstage with code ENVELOPE at checkout for a free trial. 100% free, you simply cannot beat that. For more exclusive content, find us on Facebook and Twitter at In The Envelope, and subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Who should we interview next? Let us know. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another peek in the envelope.